So like I said, today, I'm going to go into a very simple training, how to handle objections, talk to you about some of the things that I think about when it comes to handling objections. Some of the things. If you want to be successful in life and business, you need to ultimately be able to communicate your ideas, thoughts, ideologies, your principles, your values. You need to be able to communicate them extremely effectively when you're speaking to prospects, looking to establish new business partnerships, maybe working with somebody who's already a client and maybe they're dissatisfied with something, and you need to be able to walk them through it through correct communication, positive communication, to help work through different areas and scenarios that you're presented throughout your life. So, man, let's dive into today's training. I'm super excited. And today's training is all about how to never worry about objections again. So I'd like to go into the first point that I have here. The first thing that I would like to go over is, number one, is to know your market better than your competitors. Now, this is so important, right? I feel like a lot of individuals, when they are either first starting their business or they're just becoming, moving from maybe a W-2 income situation and now moving into a consulting or marketing role or whatever it may be, and they now want to grow a business, is in a lot of cases, they don't know their competition. They don't know their industry well enough, their niche well enough, so that when their prospects are getting on the phone and they're asking certain questions, which is quote unquote where the objections are coming from, in a lot of cases, they don't know how to handle those scenarios because of the fact that they've never been prepared for those types of conversations. So individuals struggle to overcome objections because they don't know the issues in advance that they could potentially see come out. Now, I would like to give some thoughts on how to start to go through the process of finding out more details about your market so that now you can be more prepared. And that's as simple as two simple strategies. Go on Google and go on YouTube. Type in your target market's name. Like, let's say you're helping real estate agents with their marketing. Go onto YouTube and say, hey, are you struggling with this as a real estate agent? Type in those exact words. And now you're going to see on YouTube, there's going to be hundreds of videos of different things that real estate agents are struggling with right now. And what I would do is start to go through some of that content. I would write down each topic, and then I would start to do some due diligence and dive into learning more about why those areas are consistent struggles for real estate agents. And here's the thing. In a lot of cases, some of those issues and challenges that they do experience, you'll actually recognize it may not be something that your service or solution specifically solves. But if you can bring it up in the conversation and you can now have it as a talking point, it assumes you to be the authority now in that conversation. And the trust is now being built stronger, better, faster with that prospect because they have a higher belief that you know what the heck you're talking about. And that's important. People need to believe that you know what you're talking about when you're speaking to them, because if they don't, they're never going to do business with you. They're never going to consider your service. They're never going to want to move forward. So wrapping up that thought here, the biggest thing to consider is understanding the power behind knowing your market better than your competitors, because if you know the market better than your competitors, you're going to stand out and you're going to get less of that BS feedback of like, well, I hear what you're doing, but it sounds so much like what I just heard yesterday from another guy. I mean, if you're running Facebook ads or something like that to attract new customers, frankly, that type of person who opts in for a Facebook ad to try and have a conversation is likely opting into other Facebook ads to have that type of conversation noticed. So to start separating yourself from your competition, you need to start to know the marketplace better so that you have additional talking points to effectively influence the conversation. And one of the most powerful things that I learned from Tony Robbins is he said, in every conversation, one person is being influenced. In every conversation, one person is being influenced. And there's 2 to 3 ways in which influence happens. One, the value exchange, right? So if there's more value coming from one person, especially in the area of providing a service or solution, if you're providing more value where that person has that gap or issue in their business, and now you're providing that value that fills in the gap for them, you've now separated yourself from a lot of other individuals, your competition very specifically. You've separated yourself from them because now understand you're influencing the customer because they recognize you're a person of value, you're a person of influence, and now you're starting to make them think differently about their problems. Now, the second part, right, of how one person is always influencing the other is conviction. A lot of you who have, whether you got on the phone with me, we spent some time, we've talked before, you've seen content videos of things that I've provided in the past. I'm very, very emphatic and enthusiastic. I'm excited all the time. I'm jacked up all the time. I'm fired up and motivated. Understand that energy transfer that people feel when you're having a conversation with them, that's influential. The person who has higher energy is attracting the lower energy person to start to try and move themselves and qualify themselves to feel like that person who has high energy. So having high energy is actually a very simple strategy to start to influence somebody. So just like I said, Tony Robbins taught this to me. It was a great concept, which is in every conversation, somebody is being influenced, and it's either based on value or it's based on the conviction, right? The enthusiasm, the conviction of one of the parties is going to influence the other person. So I hope that all helps. That is part one of how to ultimately now go through the process of handling objections and never having to worry about them again. Part two. So this is the second part. Number two is ask probing questions to bring the objection to light. So this is quick. I'm going to go over this super quick, but this really does make a big difference. Asking probing questions in the beginning and earlier part of your conversation is going to bring potential objections to light faster, so you don't have to deal with them at the end when you're, officially bringing your service, describing the service, and then of course, placing the offer and describing to them your exact price point and price structure. So here's what I mean. Let's say, as an example, let's say you're a fitness trainer. Here's a good example. Let's say you're a fitness trainer. So in the fitness industry, a lot of individuals have tried some sort of fitness plan. They did some sort of diet. They did some sort of lose 40 pounds in the next 30 days plan, whatever. And they probably also went out themselves to go ahead and try and do it themselves. So a great probing question to handle any potential objections that would come up at the end when you're pitching your one-on-one service for a fitness client would be, hey, tell me a little bit about your experiences thus far on your fitness journey. What has worked and what hasn't worked? Super simple. What has worked and what hasn't worked? If you're asking this question genuinely, this should open up very quickly. And to be clear, this is an open-ended question, right? This should open up everything that they've experienced thus far in the past, unless they're super introverted and they don't want to share. They're going to tell you all about their past experiences, good, bad, and indifferent. And here's the thing. As you're getting the answer to the question, you don't want to take anything at face value. So here's what I mean. They may say, well, I bought this 30 pounds in 30 days program for $27 online, and I tried it a little bit and it didn't work. You don't want to take that at face value, because in your mind, you're like, well, of course it didn't work. You spent $27. It's BS. It's like some sort of, not get rich quick, but get skinny quick plan. And it doesn't work like that. You can't invest $27 into your health, into your body, if it's the one thing that you need for the rest of your life. So that's what you would want to say normally, but you're not going to say that. Instead, you're going to ask another probing question on top of that. So they say, hey, this $27 fitness program didn't work. Ask another probing question, which is, well, let me ask you, did you apply within 30 days everything that was suggested in that program? And if you did, what are the reasons you feel that it didn't work? And now you understand, now you're opening up the dialogue further, and they're going to start to explain in depth. First off, are they accountable, right? Like, anyone can buy a program, but I'm pretty sure statistically 90% of the people who buy online programs don't even open the first damn module, which is ridiculous. And if that's you, shame on you, because you're throwing money away, first off. which I thought is just like ridiculous. But that's a whole nother conversation in itself. But 90% of individuals don't even open up the first module inside of a coaching program or training program that they purchase online, which is ridiculous. So if they say, hey, well, I went through the first 5 modules, there's about 25, I went through the first 5, and I just feel like it didn't work for me. Well, let's talk about that. Clearly, it's not going to work if you didn't commit. You didn't go all in. You didn't follow through with everything that the information was ultimately intended to help you with. If you didn't do the work and actually follow through in the work, now understand something. What you've done on unpacking that is 2 things. One, you're qualifying them further. Do I even want to work with this person if they're not somebody who's going to follow through? That's one. And number 2 is that it helps you influence them now. Well, that's an interesting point. You went through the first 5 modules. There's about 20. You didn't complete all of them. It's fine. I know a lot of people do that, but tell me, what about the information made you not want to continue to move forward? What stopped you from continuing to go through the rest of the information? What was it about? What was the feeling that it provided? Did you just feel like they didn't understand you and your problems and issues and challenges? Did you feel like it was too generic and it wasn't specific to you? Did you feel like there was something about the way that the person was presenting the information that you just did not like it? Do you see what I'm doing here? I'm probing, and I'm not taking anything at face value. I'm never taking anything at face value. I'm asking deeper rooted questions to get further and further and further into the potential things that are going to be an issue, problem, or objection at the end of the call. So understand, what we are doing here is we are unpacking the potentiality of an objection in advance before it becomes an objection at the end of the call. So that is how to ask questions, ask probing questions to bring the objection to light. I can unpack just this part for probably another 20 minutes, but I'm going to move on to the next point. But